Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. We've had a really intense day today. The Iraqi resistance, yet again, they said that they launched cruise missiles and UAVs on Israel again. This is the fifth time that the Iraqi resistance in particular are attacking Israel since the beginning of this war, since the 7th of October. So far we've had them attacking Haifa twice. And by the way, Israel denied all of those attacks, remember. We just had confirmations from the ground, and in one of the bombings in Haifa, near the refinery, we saw an actual images published. But apart from that, Israel censors everything, and including the attack today on the Ashdod port, which I'll get to in a sec. But so far they had 5 attacks. 2 in Haifa, 1 in Karish gas field, that's off the coast of Lebanon. They attacked that with a UAV. They also attacked an undisclosed part of Israel about a month ago. They said we launched multiple UAVs and rockets on an undisclosed part where necessary in Israel. They didn't specify anything else. But Israel didn't admit any of this. Today, they said they targeted Ashdod port. Ashdod port is in the southern part of Israel, and it's the second most important one after the port of Haifa. So we're seeing a coordination, a very advanced coordination between what the Yemenis are doing and the Iraqi resistance. They're targeting strategic places, the Iraqis, and people need to understand that and be aware of it. They're not just targeting any old place, just like random places. They're targeting really sensitive places, the people from Iraq. And all of these send messages to Israel. They're meant to send messages to Israel and the United States that if Iraq is making a move, it's a strategic move. Karish, you're talking about billions. The refinery, you're talking about chemicals that can be released and be cancerous to people. When you talk about the port of Ashdod, it's a strategic place that replaces Haifa in many times. And the Palestinian resistance targeted, by the way, multiple times. So this is a very serious escalation that Israel is not even talking about. They're not even mentioning it. We just had this confirmation from the Iraqi resistance. And so far, they've been consistent with everything that they declared in terms of attacks. And it wasn't just that attack in Ashdod that was very significant. Actually, Israel carried out an attack in Lebanon, claiming that they targeted an Iranian controlled airport in Lebanon. They showed satellite images of the Iranian flag and Hezbollah flag, and they released images about a month ago, Yoav Gallant in particular. I'm not sure if it's part of his power clash with Netanyahu, kind of revealing things as if he's controlling the northern part, whereas Netanyahu is controlling Gaza. They have so many conflicts between them, these people. But anyway, apparently, about a month ago, he revealed that there's an Iranian-controlled airport in Lebanon, and they attacked it today. But at the same time, they also said that a phosphorus RPG shell fell down in Al-Mutulli, Metula in Hebrew, which is a settlement close to the borders in Lebanon. Now, Hezbollah didn't take responsibility for this up until now. Neither did any other movement. They obviously target settlements, they target bases. They targeted Miron, which is the main air command base in the north. Israel has 2. They attacked it twice. And now we have this supposed phosphorus shelling. Now, this report that was in Ma'ariv, Hebrew newspaper in Israel, they said that Hezbollah most likely used Israeli weapons that were targeting Lebanon. So if Israel's trying to make it out as if the Palestinians and the Lebanese are using like internationally banned weapons, they're admitting in the same lines that they used it in Lebanon, because Israel uses frequently internationally banned weapons, not as if they care. They care about nothing but their bloodlust. But this report could be one of 2 things. It could be a message from the resistance, or it could be setup from Israel. It could be a setup as a pretext to take more action against Lebanon. Because why would they use the supposedly phosphorus RPGs, Hezbollah, and we haven't had any report that they used something like that previously? But it could be either signaling a message to Israel or Israel using it as a pretext to do something bigger against Lebanon. We've had so many threats in the past few days, particularly from Yoav Gallant. That's why I say there's like a power battle between him and Netanyahu, apart from the split that we've constantly been talking about. But it's as if he's the spokesperson of everything to do with Lebanon. Like, you don't see Benjamin Netanyahu up in the north as much as you see Yoav Gallant. Benjamin Netanyahu is kind of focusing on what's happening in Gaza, so they're even split when it comes to their genocides and how they split them. But this is what's happening, and they could be using this, okay? We have very interesting days coming up. We obviously have the ICJ coming out tomorrow. We're going to hear their decision. And Israel has been trying to reach an agreement leading to that ICJ ruling. Now, before I get to the latest developments when it comes to the deal and the negotiations, there has been a very intense day in Gaza. Today, Abu Ubaidah released a statement saying that in the last 7 days, they confirmed killed 53 soldiers, and that's only Al-Qassam brigades, the military wing of Hamas. And they're not the only active military group in Gaza. You have the Saraya Al-Quds brigades that belongs to the PIJ. You have Kata'ib al-Mujahideen, Kata'ib Abu Ali Mustafa, armed wings of the PFLP and other groups. But Al-Qassam is obviously the biggest one, and only them, they killed 53 in the last 7 days and destroyed 63 vehicles. And today we had more intensity in Khan Yunis, and Israel again continuing to punish the civilians. That's what they're doing. That's what they're good at. Their expertise is torturing human beings. That's what the innocent civilians. They were killing 2 brothers going to get aid, shooting at everyone, trying to rescue them. They're using these quad UAVs that shoot, right? Shooting at people in a market trying to get aid. Again, fascinating. Still attacking refugee camps, people taking shelter. That's what they're good at. That's what they're good at. They killed over 250 people just in the last couple of days. Innocent civilians. Again, they're attacking in Nasser hospital. They're attacking so many hospitals. You have 30 hospitals out of 36 completely dysfunctional. And the hospitals that are functional are barely with anything. They hardly have anything in them. So it's really bad when it comes to the civilians, and it's just mind-blowing how these things are not highlighted. The fact that people are at the brink of total starvation, children not getting education, people having to undergo surgeries without anesthetics and without any drugs, people having no food, Israel targeting people who are going to get food. Where is the mainstream media, ladies and gentlemen? And the only thing they talk about is the hostages. I'm sorry, but these hostages are, from the reports that we've heard from the hostages who left, they're living a cushy life more than the people of Gaza. Hamas and the Palestinian resistance are treating them very well, according to themselves when they were released. Don't forget how Hamas and the Palestinian resistance treated those hostages. Don't forget the images of them smiling and waving and hugging them, and the statements that they gave later on about how they were treated, and the thank you letters even. And they're talking about these hostages. Talk about the Palestinian hostages and prisoners in Israel being killed, tortured to death. Now, Ben Gvir, the Minister of Interior Security, National Security in Israel, he appointed a more radical person to be in charge of the prisons. And he said his main objective now is to make it more difficult for them. And just in the last month, we heard about 8 people being killed in Israeli prisons because of torture. The last one, he suffered from severe pain in his abdomen area because he was beaten and not treated. Internal bleeding. He died. Talk about them. These are the hostages that are under threat. And any Israeli hostage under threat, they're under threat from their own country and their own army that's killing them. They killed over 70 so far since the beginning of this war with indiscriminate bombing, implementing a directive called the Hannibal Directive so that they can get rid of their own people. And you're talking about Israeli family members, Israeli soldiers saying these things. I spoke about the woman and her son, Maayan, whose son was killed because of a gas bomb when Israel tried to kill and actually killed Ahmad al-Ghandour, the Al-Qassam Brigade senior, knowing that there are Israeli soldiers there. So talk about how this country is genocidal with its own people and committing such acts of barbarism against innocent civilians. Instead of telling me the day after in Gaza and dismantling Hamas, you even had David Cameron going to meet Mahmoud Abbas today, the Palestinian president. What an irrelevant meeting. What are you going to do with the Palestinian president? What powers does he have, Mahmoud Abbas? He moves by Israeli decisions, and he admitted that. Many times previously said, if I do something, بطخوني, they'll shoot me, or they won't allow me, or they'll do this and that. These people move by authority from Israel. We had a video today of Israeli forces shooting at Palestinian police in Bethlehem. And the Palestinian police in the West Bank are just fleeing. What kind of police is this? But these are the people that Cameron wants to talk with, the irrelevant people when it comes to this war. If you had any sort of decency or integrity or honesty in your actions, and we all know you don't, you would speak with the real decision makers, the people who actually have popularity and the people running things, elected people. Particularly in Gaza, if you're trying to reach a solution between Israel and Gaza, go speak with Hamas. They're running the show in Gaza, not the Palestinian president in the West Bank. But it's the typical festival of hypocrisy and ignorance going on with this meeting. It's completely absurd. We had another interesting update today. Apparently, the Egyptian presidency rejected a call from Israel. Israel called them to try and arrange a meeting between Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and Benjamin Netanyahu, and the Egyptian presidency outright rejected. Now, these people used to talk previously. They actually had a meeting during a UN summit one day as a part of it, not like a direct visit. Sisi never visited Israel or anything of the sort. But the fact that he doesn't want to talk with Benjamin Netanyahu just shows how much things are tense between them and Egypt. The most strategic peace that Israel has, the most strategic peace treaty, is the peace treaty with Israel. That's being shattered, by the way. So they said, we don't want to talk to you. They have disagreements when it comes to the Salah ad-Din route, what Israel's doing in Gaza, the fact that they're not reaching a ceasefire, a permanent ceasefire, and their constant threats to occupy the Philadelphia line, which is the border between Gaza and Egyptian Rafah. Israel constantly wants to attack this place and occupy it, or at least threaten to, because they claim the strategic tunnels are under that area. And today, the Egyptian president, he also said that I'm not the one who's obstructing the aid in Gaza, Israel is. And many people, it's hard for them to grasp the situation of the Rafah border. So let me elaborate on that. And obviously, everyone's entitled to say what he wishes in terms of comments or whatever. The Rafah border between Gaza and Egypt, Israel has something to do with it. Because they had an agreement in 2005 between the Palestinian Authority when Israel withdrew from Gaza unilaterally. They had an agreement between the Palestinian Authority before Hamas won the elections and took control over Gaza, Egypt, and Israel. It has to be a three-way thing. So anything that goes from Egypt to Gaza has to be authorized by Israel, similar to how things are in the West Bank. For example, things from Jordan, they go in. Israel controls all of that line in the Jordan River. They control everything that goes in the West Bank, not the Palestinian Authority. So the same applies to Gaza. So when the Egyptian president said that they didn't close the border of Rafah, they kept it open, the delay from Israel, that is very true to a very high extent. However, the relevant comment when it comes to this is, up until when are you gonna allow the situation to continue? I mean, up until when are we gonna respect these treaties or whatever it is if you have a genocide going on? I mean, the Camp David Accords have been broken. They've been torn to pieces. Eli Dekel, who was a previous senior figure in the Israeli military intelligence, he said that Egypt breached every line in the Camp David Accords when it comes to the tunnels that I spoke about in Sinai, when it comes to the level of military equipment, personnel, tanks, all of these things. So what are we waiting for when it comes to Gaza? People don't have food, for heaven's sake. They don't have medicine. Up until when are we going to wait? Screw the deal that you have with Israel when it comes to the Rafah border. Throw it in the bin and completely open the border between you and Gaza, because there's an elected government over there and people are suffering one of the most atrocious genocides, the most atrocious genocide, deliberate ethnic cleansing campaign of the 21st century. And you're telling me agreements. It's not time to talk about agreements. It's time to open it up, and to hell with what Israel and the US and the UK and the EU, to hell with what they say. Because they couldn't care less about the Palestinian lives. These are the same people who have been crying and moaning and growing and going to visit Ukraine 24/7 when it had nothing in comparison to the disaster in Gaza. It's blatant. I mean, the racism stinks out of this whole situation. So you shouldn't be waiting for what they're going to say. Everything should be completely opened without approval of Israel. No one, that's it. Enough waiting for Israel here. They're irrelevant. And people need to start talking about the day post-apartheid Israel, where we should be done about that. Not the day after Gaza, the day after Israel. This is what people should be talking about. Another interesting thing we heard today from the Israeli Broadcasting Authority. They said that Hamas told Qatar, stop negotiating. Qatar is the main side that negotiates on behalf of Hamas. They're the main mediator when it comes to representing Hamas to the Israelis, to the Americans, even the Egyptians, because the main offices are, obviously Hamas have direct dealings with Egypt too, they regularly visit, but the main offices of Hamas's political bureau are in Doha, right? The Israelis know that very well. They're there with American approval as well. Today, they said, according to that report in Israel, obviously, they told the Qatar to stop negotiating. We're not continuing up until Israel stops the war completely and withdraws from Gaza. A complete ending of the war and a withdrawal from Gaza. This could be true. On the surface, we had another confirmation today from Osama Hamdan from Lebanon, Hamas senior figure in Lebanon, saying that we're open for suggestions and offers. But if those suggestions or offers are non-compliant with stopping the war completely and Israel withdrawing out of Gaza, which is not only a Hamas demand, by the way, it's the PIJ's demand too. And the PIJ are very strong. They're the second strongest group in Gaza, and they have a big say in what happens. That their alliance with Hamas is a strategic alliance, so they all need to be on the same line. So I wouldn't be surprised if Hamas did that, also waiting for what's going to happen with the ICJ. Not that we're building much faith on what's going to happen with the ICJ, because Netanyahu already said he's not going to respect it. And there is no outrage, by the way, from what we call the international community. What type of international community? You mean the above the law elite, the above the law clique of criminals running the show, rather than international community. The international community is the people who want to end this genocide and give the Palestinian people finally their historical and contemporary rights, and finally give the Palestinian people their historical and contemporary rights. That's the international community. When these people talk about international community, they talk about an elite corrupt clique running like a cartel mafia, running the show. So I wouldn't be surprised if Hamas did that, because Israel's thinking they're putting pressure on them with the military campaign when the opposite is happening. It's Hamas who's putting more pressure on Israel. And not just Hamas, the Palestinians in Gaza altogether. The fact that the people are not buying the Israeli narrative, the fact that people are not leaving, the fact that people are still in North Gaza. Like when I spoke about this aid today, that was in North Gaza. People going to get aid, sticking in North Gaza. It's easier for you to go down south, but they don't want to. In spite of all of Israel's genocidal crimes that they commit. So this could be another pressure point from Hamas on Israel, and Netanyahu's feeling it really hard. The criticism is really hard on them. I mean, today someone was a brother of a soldier who was killed in Gaza. He was lashing out at Benny Gantz, screaming at him in the middle of the military funeral, state funeral, that you need to stop the war, and security had to hold them. And these situations happen very frequently. So the pressure that's happening is happening on Israel rather than on the Palestinians. And these were the main things that I wanted to talk to you about today. I hope you enjoyed this video and I added some beneficial information for you as usual. And I will see you soon in the next video. Take care.